Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am your host for conversation for the next hour, and I am so glad to be back on the airways. If you're tuning into this conversation, I want you to like, tag, and share this conversation with other individuals. Put it on your social media stream. If you're listening on your FM dial at 107.1 FM on KISS WTLZ. I certainly thank you for continually coming in and continually spending this time with us. Well. I'm in the studio with my main man, Matthew Soul. He is here. Matt Soul, White Chocolate. We call him all of those things above. Matt, it's so good to have you in the house. How has your weekend gone?
Well, it could be better if Michigan State won yesterday. I'll say that. Other than that, just been doing my homework, working around the house. I worked the SVSU game yesterday. We got a big dub yesterday for our SVSU Cardinals out there. And other than that, yeah, it's been a pretty good weekend. What about you?
Man, it has been amazing. For those of you who have been wondering where I have been, I had to take some time off. I've been off social media for a little bit with everything that's going on with the crazy politicized, everything is politicized nature of things. Sometimes you just got to take a break from social media land. And so I had to do that for a little bit, but we're back. We're back on online on all the things, and I've caught up with so many things. I missed so much being away, but I have really enjoyed my time of solitude and reflection. In addition to that, a brother has to get his relax on, and so I had to spend some time. Went down to the Dominican Republic for about a week and enjoyed myself, rest and relaxation, some R&R, and had an amazing time. My uncle Jeffrey Bowen, belated happy birthday. You always put the belated before the happy birthday. I heard people say happy belated birthday. So I'm confused about which is late, but belated happy birthday to you. He celebrated year number 60 in grand fashion with about 38 members of the family, all there sharing and having fun. And it was quite the celebration. Wonderful job, great hosting. Aunt Jerry and Shorty and the rest of the crew for such a dynamic time. So I had an amazing time in the sun. I had a real good suntan. I was black as molasses. I don't know if that's a good thing to say or whatever, but I was dark. But being home for a couple of weeks, that little color has now dissipated. I'm about back to normal. But hey, for those of you out there, it is the final days of the 2024 election cycle. And if you are like me, then you cannot be happier. Don't want to see any more political campaigns. Don't want to go to any more speeches. I don't want to see any more commercials. I don't want them interrupting my radio, my TV. You can't get even on Spotify and wherever you do your podcast, commercials were popping up everywhere. And if you are like I am, you are tired of the madness. But you just got to hold on to me. We're going to talk politics. What's going on out there? Charles Allen, you are the very first person in the stream. Hey, good to see you out there. It's great to have you in the house. Your name actually came up today. And so it's going to be interesting. Today, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. And there may be some people that are happy with what I have to say, and you may be displeased. But this is straight talk, no chaser, no filter, where we give it to you straight. And we come to you straight with the issues that are at hand. And so we're going to talk today. And I know that many of you are out there. And I say this, I want to first say, before I start this conversation, I want to thank you all. I want to thank our listening audience. I want to thank KISS 107.1 FM. I want to thank those of you who are out there that listen to this show as a live broadcast. And then those of you who get involved. And today I'm going to ask for you all to get involved with this conversation. I want you to be a part of this conversation. So we're going to very shortly on the second half of this put up the number where you guys can call in and be involved in this conversation, engaged, and talk about some things. So I got some heavy stuff to talk about, and I'll be very honest with you with where I am and what I'm dealing with. And I always want to make sure that I'm true to my brand. And my brand, and just be clear, my brand isn't straight talk. My brand is a man of faith, to be a man of integrity and character. And oftentimes I am challenged to walk a line that is both honest with you all in terms of what I communicate and what I convey, as well as making sure that I am being true to who I am at my core, which is a man of faith. And I want to make sure that I do that. And on today, I've been thrown a series of things, and I really don't know exactly where I'm going to stand with the communication of those things. But we're going to get to it. We're going to talk about it. Election, other than Super Tuesday, it is all said and done. I think today was the last day of early voting. And I'm proud of you, Saginaw. 26.2% of our voting electorate has already cast a ballot. That is a great number for the city of Saginaw. If you are in politics, and I say this, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party, when you truly love our country and you truly love what politics isn't only about who wins and who loses, but the greatest part of politics is seeing our people get involved in the process, that people take on the civic privilege to be able to share their thoughts. Now, I got a lot to say on today. When I just said that, it brought something else up in my mind. And I got to say, before I get into the conversation I was getting ready to have about Super Tuesday, I got to speak a little bit. I don't know if y'all heard what Mr. Donnie, what's his name? Haggard, what Swaggart, haggle you out your money. Donnie Haggard, that's what his name is. Swaggart. I think it is Donnie Swaggart. Jimmy Swaggart was his father, who had the great televangelist show. He was on TV and all over these places, and he was always crying. And you know, growing up, many of your parents and grandparents sent money to that man. And now you see what they about. He ended up being embattled and caught into a situation of philandering and preaching against prostitution and being caught with a prostitute. He and one of the other televangelists at the time, these what do we call those people? These evangelicals, preaching against folk. And then, he was caught in a situation, and he had been hard on another man. That's why I say you got to operate with people with grace. And today's conversation, and I'm leaning in to say this, is going to be handled with a lot of grace, what I have to say on today. So I want you to tune in. And I'm not having this conversation for likes and shares, but to be honest about where I am. So you're going to see a man conflicted in what he talks about and what he shares today. But I'm going to be honest, and my desire is not that anyone would be hurt in the conversation that I'm having. But anyways, we got to get back to Swaggart. Donnie Swaggart had the nerve to go on record and say, I know I'm going to be called racist because you are. And he said that the church, the black church, he called out the black church, and not stop there, but he talked about the leader of black church. And he did not use him or speak to the leader of the largest African-American Pentecostal church. He did not mention him by name, but he talked about him being the leader of the largest African-American Pentecostal church in the world, the Churches of God in Christ, which I grew up in. And they're the illustrious leader. I'm no longer a part of it, but it's always a part of me. And not only that, but Bishop John Drew Sheard, J. Drew Sheard is a friend. He's a mentor. I shouldn't say a friend because he's not my friend, but we have a great relationship. And he said that the black church needs to start following Christ and standing up for Jesus Christ. And he went on to reference, because in certain mindsets, they think that you have to be a one trick pony, and one thing will cause you to vote that way. And I believe his stance on abortion was the key thing. He had been preaching for weeks about this, and basically saying that the black church is not preaching the righteousness of God. He is not preaching the truth. And I sat there, and I think it was because he referred to Molech. And if you know anything about the Bible, Molech, the spirit of Molech, Balaam, all of those things throughout the entire Old Testament, it talks about these spiritual deities where they were basically murdering babies, sacrificing babies for a ritualistic purpose, and offering them to this god. And he told us, don't be as those who worship Molech. And I certainly I understand that, and I am a firm believer. I would say that I am a pro-life, but when I talk about pro-life, I mean it in a different way than most Republicans and most evangelicals would mean it, because they're pro-life when it comes to taking away your right to make a decision, which is based upon your decision, which is something that Jesus had never done. He told you, you make the decision. You choose sin or you choose me. And so I've never been one who would say you should not do something, but Negro had the opportunity, and he took it, and he said that black folks were not living righteously. Black pastors were not doing what the Bible says. So basically calling them failures and idolaters and sinners. And I had not heard the rebuttal of that, but from Bishop Sheard, which if he was smart, he'd just do what he does and be the great man and leader that he is. But I just want to say that I really am moved by how some white people think that they have the audacity, and it's rooted in white supremacy. And even pastors of evangelical churches can operate in white supremacy. And white supremacy is this. I'm not talking about Nazi skinhead and things of that nature, but it's the fact that how I think is how everyone else should think. That is what white supremacy is. And people are offended by that term, but that's just what it is. And so this white supremacist pastor got up and he said that if you don't believe the way that he believes, then all of y'all are not preaching righteousness. And I have to say to you, Donnie Swaggart, just keep on talking, because ain't nobody listening over here. So we're going to continue, but I just had to address that because that bothered me. And it also bothers me, all of my evangelical brothers and sisters. I told you all when George Floyd was murdered in the streets and those who killed him were found guilty. None of my evangelical friends reached out to see how I was, but instead their conversation was, we back the blue. Now, someone who has grown up in a family with folks who are paramilitary, military, and police officers, generations of them, I black the blue in that regard, but I don't black the blue as a protest of me standing up for what the injustices are. When police are wrong, they're wrong. And so we find ourselves in this whole thing. So let me get to the heart of what we're going to talk about. So Super Tuesday is coming up. 26.2% of Saginaw's electorate has already voted. Early voting ended today. And I want to make sure that we make some things notable for those who are out there before I get into the hot topic conversations of today. If you are a felon, and I did something, y'all, that I hadn't done in a long time, and I thought that it was appropriate. When I'm always talking about people being activated and mobilized in this process, I said, you know what, I need to get out and knock on some doors. So shout out to my girl, Rosa Holiday, my lady, my friend. I absolutely love her for getting me off the sidelines and knocking on doors. And so we were knocking on doors. Felons, if you're out there and you have a felon and somebody told you felony and you said that you can't vote, that is not true. If you are being told that you cannot vote, when you show up, if there's any issues, anything that is not consistent with what you think should be happening at that polling place, I'm going to give you two numbers. I don't know if this is where you should call it not, but I know they'll take your number. We're talking about your Saginaw City and your Saginaw County clerks. Those numbers, 989-759-1480 is the city, and 989-790-5200 is our county clerk. Now, one other thing that you can do, because I've talked with a lot of people over the course of this weekend who says, I'm not registered to vote, so I'm not going to vote. I'm going to vote next time. Well, guess what? You can register the same day and vote. Now, you got to go to your clerk's office. You got to get your registration signed with your picture, ID, all of those things. And also, when you show up to vote, I need you to understand that when you vote, they're going to ask for picture ID. So you need identification showing that you are who you are. However, that your address does not have to be on that identification according to the state's website. And so I want to make sure that everyone takes this responsibility. I shouldn't say responsibility, right? And for those of you who are out there, church, stop preaching, telling people that it is their religious responsibility, their church God responsibility to vote. Church and state should be separate. You have a civic right or civic privilege to vote if you so to choose, but you are not mandated by God to vote. It is a worldly process that we have a civic right or privilege to do if you so choose. So God's not going to send you to hell if you don't go vote. And if you vote for something that is not consistent, because the Bible talks about social injustice, he talks about not treating people fairly just as much as he talks about all of the other things that want to preach to you from their bully pulpits. Bully pulpit. So let's make sure that we understand how important those things are. So this is what is required. If you're out there, please share this with folks. Like, tag, and share this conversation, because I'll tell you what is at stake. What is at stake this year, like no other year, is that we are truly, I know Joe Biden said in 2020 that he was fighting for the soul of America. Right now, I wish Joe Biden would just take a seat, because every time he opens his mouth, he makes a mistake. But Joe, we appreciate your service. Great job. Now go on over to Shady Pines, take a rest, and take a break. But what we need to understand is this. When we look at the politics, if you are a Michigan resident and you're in the city or the township, wherever you're applying to register to vote, as long as you have lived there 30 days before Election Day, you can register to vote. A citizen, you can do that day of. I told you that. If you're a citizen of the United States, you can vote. If you're at least 18 years of age by Election Day, you can vote. If you turn 18 by Monday, you can vote on Tuesday. I think on Tuesday, you're 18, you can vote. So don't allow anyone to take away this amazing right that you have, if you so do choose. If you're not currently serving a sentence in jail or prison, and I think that this is where the waters get convoluted, because people say prisoners can't vote, and in Michigan, you can. So you have the right and the privilege to vote, and I hope that you take that right. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Now, I'm going to get into what is going to lead us in to what I might consider a very slippery slope. And this is how we're going to handle it. There are a lot of people that are running for city council. There were a number of people that are up for re-election. Some of those seats, they're running to be reinstated. And we have a really interesting situation, and we're an incumbent who is Reggie Williams decided not to vote. Then he decided that he not to rerun for his position. Then he decided that, hey, the city needs me. My work isn't done. So he decided to run again. Unfortunately, his time frame, he didn't get it into the. We talked about this. And so he is now a candidate, a write-in candidate at that. He is now running against who was once unopposed, Miss Carly Hammond. And I've told you my personal feelings about her. I don't have any personal issues against Miss Hammond. When she was running against Amos O'Neill, who, when he was running for what was then the 95th district, I gave my full support of Mr. Amos O'Neill, because he's the man. He's been working in communities. He got me involved in community work. And he is running again now in the 94th district. Y'all better get out there and support the man who's at everybody's everything. And while I'm at it, let me just say this about the DNC, Democratic Party, the National Democratic Party. And it's unfortunate. You know, we choose and we have to make decisions on who we're going to support and who we don't. But when I look at candidates who have been able to come in without the support of the Democratic Party, and I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, I wasn't asked to say this. I wasn't paid to say this. These are my opinions, as the disclaimer will say when I'm off the show. There are a couple of candidates that I've noticed and I've watched over the years who have not garnered the support of the DNC. And I think that it's an atrocity, and it's going to turn out to be very pivotal in terms of how the DNC has to move moving forward. That is one Mr. Amos O'Neill, Representative O'Neill, and then also our city manager, Brenda Moore. I don't believe that they were embraced by the Democratic Party. Flint's Mayor Neely put out an op-ed that I read, and he was on the show a while ago talking about how the Democratic Party often wants our votes, but they are not also always considering our candidates when it comes time to position candidates. And I think that when I look at Amos and Brenda, who were not the selections that the people in the DNC would have wanted, when I see them be able to garner support, it shows me that hope is possible, that change is possible. It shows me that if you are a candidate and you get out and you do the work and you get into the community and you work your community, you talk to your constituents, you show up where you're needed, you listen. Brother Amos O'Neill, you brought more money back to the city. of Saginaw, the county, the region, the Great Lakes Bay region, in the area, the district that you represent, more than I've ever seen of anyone in your position since I have been old enough to understand and to vote. So I got to salute you because you're doing the work. When I look at you answering the issues of food shortages, they were talking about food shortages and food deserts. You brought back the dollars. When I look at the issue of educating and retraining our community and empowering the people who work with people to help them with job partnership, they would say that you're doing the work. When I look at equestrian teams and getting kids exposure and opportunity and STEM related things, you, sir, are doing the work. And so I appreciate individuals who are self-made Republicans. I mean, self-made politicians, not Republicans. Ain't nobody, and nobody's trying to be that right now. Self-made politicians. If that was if I said that and I was running for politics, I could see the clips that would continually be made from that. You're a self-made politician. You don't owe anybody your success because you got in and you made it work for you. And so I appreciate you. And we would be fools not to do it. So what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about who I know. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm just going to tell you who I know and how I know these individuals. And I'm going to talk to you based upon the conversations or the people or the places that I think are most important. Shout out to all this: Cherie Steele Phillips, Rosa Williams, Gloria Smith, Ralph Martin, Bill Ostash, Reginald Williams, all of you that are out there in the social media stream. I think I got everybody that I see who has made their impression online. I'm not going to bring this up, but I do know Monique Sylvia Lamar Sylvia, excuse me. I've grown up with her my entire life. Many of you know her. I don't always agree with what she has to say. I didn't like some of the stuff she did at the end with the ARPA dollars. But hey, if you got money and she worked with you on that, you're supportive. But I know her. All right. I do also know, I did not know for a very long time, and I'll tell you this, I do know who Annie Bench is. And like her, love her, hate her or leave it. Underdogs on top now. But I see the work that she's doing. I like the way that she is showing up in the community. And the things that she has going on. Beautiful evening to you as well, Alma Ball Collier. I got to stop and say hello to her because she is one of our greatest supporters here at Straight Talk. And I'm excited to have you here on today. I also know, and I'm going to get myself in trouble because some of y'all going to be mad that I don't know you. I may know who you are, but I'm just talking about who I know. So if you're looking for who you're going to vote for Saginaw City Council, and you're looking for people who are making things happen, I'm just telling you who I know. I can't tell you anything more than that. George Copeland out there. George Copeland is one of the most amazing young men that I have met in a long time. I sometimes call him, and this is interesting because he is a certified master training in so many things, Six Sigma. And I talk with him and I ask him for advice and insight on certain things. And he is always, I've never worked with him professionally. I've never been paid by him. He's never been paid by me, but he's always worked as a man of integrity. He and his wonderful family, his wife, Aisha, working over there at the Chamber of Commerce with the young entrepreneurs. George is, let me say this, because I always get into the fact that I say that we as a community do not develop young leaders and position them to take over in certain positions. George is one of those young leaders, and it would be a disservice to the city of Saginaw if we did not recognize that, if we did not continually nurture the talent that we have here for the future that we hope to have. George is one of those individuals, and I know him quite well. I do know Bill Ostash. Now I'm going to say this about Bill, and this is kind of funny. I was looking, just driving down the street, and I saw a poster campaign, and it was Bill Oshtash, and he was giving us his best, Harlequin romance cover on it. And I laughed, and when I saw him, I said, "Bill, you're a handsome young man." But I do know Bill. He's a great guy trying to do the right thing. And he is trying to really make a difference in the community. What's important and why I'm having this conversation, telling you who I know, is because I understand the precipice of where we are. I understand the brevity of the moment where the city is and what's on the horizon. And sometimes people want to come in and blow up spots Hey, let's get rid of the city manager. The reality of it is Tim is doing a heck of a job. Okay. The more I've talked with him, the more I've sat down, the more I've seen the work, the more I've had a conversation with him. Before he doesn't talk. Well, he's not a politician. He is put into place. We have some money in the bank for the first time. We are positioning for the medical diamond to come forward. And I think that Tim is doing a great job. People ain't gonna like that I'm saying that. But there are powers that be that want to burn down City Hall, get a whole new council, remove Tim from his office. And that philosophy is the wrong philosophy. We don't want to mirror other cities that are nearby that all they do is fight, and the residents of the community are the ones who suffer. So I think that it's important that we take that into consideration. Jacinta Seals. Oh, they're all the Swiss. I think, they say that they have groups of twins, but all of the Seals are twins. And she is one of the younger ones, but I love her heart. I love her spirit. She reminds me so much of her mother. She is carrying on the legacy of being involved in politics in the community and making things happen. And when I saw that she was in here, I gave her a hug and I said, I'm so glad to see you being actively involved. I do know Charles Sledge. And for some of you who don't know Charles Sledge, he has been working in schools. I work with a program called HELP, and it's community violence intervention. We've been meeting with schools and all of these other entities. And when I showed up over at Arthur Eddy, Mr. Charles Sledge was one of the first ones there. He walks the community. He's talking with people in the community. He understands the importance of having a grocery store on the east side of Saginaw. Yes, you can get in your car. Yes, you can take the bus to Walmart and all these other places. But he said something to me that sticks and is very true. We're doing a disservice to our residents when they have to go to stores like Save a Lot to do their grocery shopping. Those are stores you run to for convenience in the moment, but not a place that you should have to shop if you want to have your groceries. And so one of his pushes is to make sure that we have wages that are important and that we are making sure that he does his thing. And I do know Charles. I know Charles very, very well. And then Charles Allen. Many of you know Charles Allen. He sang on American Idol. I know Charles very well. His wonderful mother, Cherie. I know them, and I wish all of them well. And then I know Reggie Williams. Many of you know Reggie Williams. The sad thing about this situation, and this is going to lead me to this conversation, and I'm not going to spend all day on this conversation. And I'm going to take a quick pause to make sure that I say exactly what it is that I need to say. Absolutely, a grocery store will take some time, but if we put our heads together, I think that we can make it happen. I think that whatever we put our minds to, we can get done. And so I think that that's important. Reggie Williams, I didn't think that it was time for him to step down when he stepped down, and he finds himself in a very interesting situation. Hats off, my man. Toe to toe with Carly. Hammond is someone who stepped in, and she opposed my personal friend, Amos O'Neill, and she labeled him as one of the established candidates, which I think was a wrong thing, if I'm correct. If I'm wrong, then I stand corrected, but I think that's what it was. But I came out in full support of Amos, and this is back in his first term. And I didn't understand why she was here. I've never had a personal issue with Carly. My issue was, why are you so engulfed in Saginaw politics? And now she had positioned herself, I think, to run for a 2-year seat, which is unopposed. Reggie then says, hey, my work is not done. He is now working as a write-in candidate, which is one of the hardest uphill battles to win, but he has been doing his work, and there are many people in the community who like him. And so he is now a write-in candidate in a position where it's important for name recognition and to have your name on the ballot. So I want to say that, and then I want to get to the nastiness of this situation. There are a number of issues that have come up with this, and the first thing that came up, I had a number of emails for people sending me regarding who's donating to campaigns and politicking for votes and all this, and you can't get a donation, a private donation. And when I looked at it, I said, there's no there in this situation. I made a few phone calls. I looked at it. Most of you don't know, I used to work for Qualified Voter File and the Bureau of Elections down in Lansing a number of years ago. And after talking with folks, people said, hey, there's no issue here. There is no problem here. And so when I look at that, I had to move on because there was nothing to report there. And in like matter, and I got another situation that came up, and they were naming Miss Carly Hammond in the situation. I didn't get the email just from one source. I got it from, I think, 5 or 6 different sources. And I began to read and cover the information. And I'm going to say this: whenever a woman says that she has been the R word, and she stands strong in her faith and her conviction, I am never going to be that voice. I'm not that dude who doesn't or who trusts women when they make those kinds of those claims. And as a matter of fact, my natural inclination is to believe women when they say that is the situation that they find themselves. Well, I'm not going to get into the hairs of this because I'm going to tell you, I had to have some very deep thoughts. And this is what I want to say. I am a man of faith and conviction first. I'm God's man first, always, regardless of where you see me. And my desire is to please him. My desire is never to hurt anyone. My desire is never to do anything. I always want to report things that are news in the moment because I think that it's important. At this moment, I've had conversations with Ms. Hammond, and with accusers, and there have been conversations with the gentleman that's at the center of the situation. And what I'm going to say is, I have aunts and uncles, and people have sisters, and this is messy politics. And in our political landscape, with so many people being divided, I think that there are issues and things that we can stand on to divide us, to separate us from one another. I am not going to get in situational identity politics. I'm not going to pick up a banner and throw stones through people's windows when this is not my fight. But what I will say, I think that integrity and character matters. If you are really interested in voting for candidates, I suggest you do your homework. I don't think that it is the space for political pundits, for radio personalities, nor for news media to do that sort of thing. Bill Ostash Store will take some time. Reggie Williams, what are you saying, Reggie? I would not be running if my opponent would have continued to run her campaign in the 4-year race. Once I saw that she was running unopposed, I knew I had to run as a write-in. And Reggie, let me say something to you about that, because I think that is exactly what we must do. When we see things happening in the political landscape that concerns us, and I do have concerns with Collier Hammond, but I'm not just getting ready to throw this story out there. You do your research, you find it. I don't understand why she's involved. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Williams. You did what was necessary for you. It's unfortunate that you find yourself in the situation that you're in, but I think that she's run a race before. She's lost. She took one to the chin, and she began to just study, how do I win this thing? And one of the best ways to win, and Saginaw does this all the time, is that we send people unopposed to the politics. We have commissioners that are unopposed. We've got sheriffs that are unopposed. We've got prosecutors that are unopposed. I'm a believer that we should never allow candidates or opportunities to present themselves where our politicians run opposed. I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to come back right after this commercial break. Stay, don't go away with more Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Hi, I'm Charles Anthony Sledge, candidate for Saginaw City Council. Thanks to you who have already voted for me on your absentee ballot. I encourage others to use your absentee ballot and vote early. To vote for me, go to the back of the ballot after you vote on the front side of your ballot. I have been active in Saginaw for more than 50 years, and I know what our people need. More affordable price housing, more job paying a livable wage, economic growth for all sections of Saginaw, but most importantly, an affordable grocery store on the east side of town, where our seniors, mothers, and fathers of our children can pick up fresh fruit and vegetables right in their communities. I am ready to provide the leadership needed to decrease our rate of poverty, grow the city, and provide the seniors and young people what they need. But I need your help. You can help by voting for me and making the pledge by filling your circle for Charles Anthony Sledge, City Council.
Get ready, Mid-Michigan. The leaves are falling and so are my prices. Ryan Wasik here from Bell Wasik GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home with a lifetime warranty. Autumn is here, but forget about the leaves on the ground. My prices are dropping and I want to help you rake in some savings. That means this month only, you could save up to $4,000 on a nicer, newer car based on the price of the car you pick. So even if your old ride is rusted, busted, or fallen from grace, leave it behind and spice things up in a car you love because you could save up to $4,000 this month only. Plus, here at Bell Wasik GMC Buick, we're all about acceptance and affordability. My solution specialists work hard to help you find a car you love for a monthly payment you can afford. So visit me to fall in love with a nicer, newer car, and you can save up to $4,000 based on the price of the car you pick. But hurry, don't leave me hanging. A deal that's good won't last long. I'm Ryan Wasik, and I'm your dealer for the people. See my bountiful harvest of rides at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit requires bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Vehicle price determines actual discount. Offer absolutely ends November 30th.
Sometimes during the fog of a campaign, it's easy to lose sight of who a candidate is and what they believe. So here are some things you should know before you vote. Paul Young is a trust fund millionaire from California who only moved here to buy a seat in Congress. He wants to ban Medicare from negotiating lower drug prices, phase out the Social Security we depend on, and outlaw abortion nationwide without exceptions for rape or incest. There's a better choice. Kristen McDonald-Rivet. As state senator, she's fighting to lower drug and housing costs, and she led the charge to pass the largest tax cut for working families in state history. Here's Flint pastor Dr. Henry Fuller to tell you more.
Kristen's from here. She's a mom of 6 and teaches Sunday school. I trust her. I believe in her. And I urge you to join me in voting for Kristen McDonald-Rivet.
I'm Kristen McDonald-Rivet, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Kristen from Michigan.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high.
Kamala Harris's economic plan is focused on lowering costs for families, so you can keep more of your paycheck. That starts with the cost of housing. For first-time homebuyers, she's offering $25,000 in down payment assistance. To build wealth, her plan offers up to $50,000 in new startup tax deductions. This is exactly how we can build generational wealth and strengthen our community, so we can get the chance to do more than just get by, but to get ahead.
You work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for president.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
All right, we're back with more Straight Talk, and I want to just give you guys a heads up. We're going to take a few calls. I want you all to let me know, are you feeling the election cycle blues? Have you voted already? What was your experience? Are you anticipating? Are you experiencing anxiety? What is going on? Call us here at 989-921-7107. I want you to call in so that we can have that conversation. Some of you who have already early voted, let us know what those are. What are some of the issues that were most important to you? What were the things that were most concerning? Was it the economy? We're going to talk about this because there is, we as people, we read sound bites. And I've spoken with so many people, not just young people, but people of all ages that have seen stuff on social media platforms who really believe it to be true. And I say, we're going to correct some of those things in just a minute. But shout out to all of those who are running. I do want to say there are a couple of people that I did not announce. The 8th district replacing Dan Kildee, who has been retiring. We have running as a Democrat, Kristen McDonald-Rivet. I often talk about how I am an independent. I've voted in every election since I was old enough to vote, except for one. It was an off-year election, and I was not able to do so physically and did not get my early vote in. So. But what I want to say about Kristen McDonald-Rivet, because she had a strong race here. There was a lot of contention with her as a candidate being selected by the DNC. I told you the DNC makes the decisions based upon what they want. But what I do like about Kristen is that I would look up when we were working with young people, when we were marching for violence or whatever, not being called, not calling in advance to say, hey, is there going to be media there? She has always shown up. When she first was announced in her state rep or state senator capacity, the black churches loved her. It wasn't until, and this is why I get in trouble, it wasn't until they had a black candidate running against her that she became problematic and they wanted her to stay where she was put. But she ran a great race. I stand in support of her. If you've seen her mailers so much, I was willing to lend my personality to the work that she's been doing. She has been fighting, and I'm not saying this just to be short, just to say something, but she and Amos O'Neill have been fighting, literally fighting. Calling, I was even summoned to the floor of the Appropriations Committee, which Mr. O'Neill is on, asked to write a letter by our senator to bring us to the, hey, we need money in the city of Saginaw to deal with the violence that's going on. And she has been a proponent carrying that fight, working with national organizations to make sure that our cities and communities are stronger, and partnering with the key individuals to make it happen. You need to get out and vote for Sister Senator Rivet for her new position as she stands in the 8th District, replacing Dan, who has been tremendous to our community, always bringing dollars back to the community as he has desired to retire. Dan, you're looking quite svelte too the last time I saw you. And so I applaud you. And then lastly, we have Alyssa Slock in the 7th U.S. Congressional District. She is running for Debbie Stabenow's vacancy, as she has also decided not to run again. I knew that Slocken would be a party standout when I saw her stand on the floor and give that impassioned speak. And I saw the monies that she was raising. I was like, it's going to be hard to beat that sister. Heal, my brother, I love you, but I knew you ain't had them coming on that one because she was already considered one of the darlings of the party. So that is what is out there to get done. Y'all get out there. Let's vote, vote, vote. Take your friend, take your family. I have a ritual that I do in terms of voting, which includes breakfast and going to vote, and then calling families to make sure that they have rights and will be exercising this amazing civic right that we have to cast that ballot. Now we're going to turn to politics here. And so some of y'all, I've got some messages on my phone. People wanted me to go in. I'm not going in. Do your research, but I do believe that there are other conversations that will come up based upon the things that I spoke. When I made the conversation that I did about that 2-year seat or whatever it was with Hammond and Williams, I really wanted to make sure that journalistically I was doing my responsibility of informing the community, but I will not harm anyone. And I've spoken to the parties that were there, that were involved. And so I did my piece. Your opinion is valid, PKJB. I certainly thank you for that. Now I need to just make some common sense of some fodder that is going on out there. And I need to really talk to my people. Can I talk to the people in the village about what's going on? This show has, from its inception in 2018, March of 2018, always been about individuals who were understanding that the most important thing we can do is to rebuild the walls of the village. We always say it takes a village to raise a child, and I often ask the question, but what happens when that village is on fire? And we have found ourselves in a position where our village is on fire. Now, we are not only vying for the soul of America, but we're vying for democracy. What is at stake in this election? And I've heard so many people saying, well, I'm not, who were anti-Trump the last go around because his divisive rhetoric and all of these other things. Well, since the last election, nothing has gotten better. And now these same people have amnesia saying, hey, we're not voting for the man. We're voting for his politics. I'm sorry. A vote for number 45 is a vote for the man. And there are no policies to vote for because all he has is a concept of policies, which he said, his words, not ours. But I do want to talk about the economy. I think it's very important for those of you, I talk to so many young people who says, I'm voting for number 45 to be number 47 because he has the best handle on the economy. So let me say this right now. Our unemployment levels are our percentage of unemployment is 4.1%. We have soaring markets that are off the charts and could have not have been predicted at this point. We have growth GDP that is happening at a rate that people did not think sustainable. Record number of jobs created since 2020. I need y'all don't want to hear the facts, but if you want to hear them, tune in. We got 12 million people covered under Obamacare that were previously uncovered. Number 45, when he was in office last time, tried to do it, tried to get over it, tried to end Obamacare because he doesn't care about you and your grandparents, folks having health care the way that he does, right? And it was the great late John McCain who voted it down with a thumbs down as the deciding vote. Now, I want to say that. Now, I want to deal with this issue on inflation because Kamala Harris has never been president. Donald Trump has. She is a part of the administration, but she is not the top person on the ticket. I think that there were some reasons as to why she was hidden. I don't think it was just normal vice president. Nobody knows who the vice president is for the most part. They handle their business. She has been working on border security and different things, which has been a 4 decades long issue for folks. That issue has existed almost longer than I've been alive. But I do want to talk about the issue that we're dealing with on this inflation. Because my people, y'all seem to have forgotten some of your basic civics classes, public personal finance, income, how that works. And the fact of the matter is that we had in 2020 one of the most horrific pandemics of our lifetime. The world as we knew it came to a standstill. Literally, the entire world stopped. And in order to keep, and so I will praise number 45 for what he did, in order to keep our country flowing and us not going into a depression, it was necessary to some degree to push dollars in the hands of citizens because everything had stopped. Stores were closed. There was social distancing. People were afraid. We had more people die because of the failures of number 45 because he didn't take it seriously. And we found ourselves in a need to pump money into the economy to keep the economy going. Now, let me tell you what happens what happens when you do this. So you all were appreciating those unemployment checks. You were appreciating the additional dollars that were coming in because it put money in your hands. And many of you all were doing what they hoped that you would do, spend the money. So number 45, he even stopped the press to make sure that he could sign his name on these checks. Please listen as I explain this to you. This was something that I think we learned back in 8th grade and then again in 12th grade. When money is printed, and there is no basis, there's no job, there's no anything that this is tied to, and you pump money into an economy to save it, you do so at the risk and with the understanding that as that money cycles through and we go through time, that there will be an influx in inflation. Because money not tied to anything that's pumped into the economy to keep people buying and keep things moving will eventually have a price to pay called inflation. Now, number 45, aka Donald President candidate Trump, was the individual who started this process. And what I will tell you is that this is what any economist would say would be necessary. So Biden comes in after the failure to respond to a pandemic in which many people lost their loved ones. He comes in and he says, hey, we have to continue this process. This is where not being political adversaries and understanding the tea leaves and understanding how government and the economy works is very important. Let's continue with these additional dollars that we're giving to people. As a matter of fact, now we got to give money and not just keep people at home, but we got to give money so that people can get to work. Well, what is the biggest thing that we need in our country to make change happen? Infrastructure. Bridges are failing. People are losing cars to potholes in the street. So these things have to happen. But 100% money influx causes inflation. Absolutely right. So who's to blame for this inflation that we've experienced? Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Let's be honest about it. That's the way that it works. We can't tout the successes and push the part out that we don't work. But we have to be honest about what takes place. Now, I need to say this, and then we're going to take a second commercial break. What you have to also understand is that this inflation, low housing availability, astronomical housing prices, the increase of pricing goods, all of the things were a perfect storm to create a serious recession, or the D word, depression. But what we've seen our financial specialists under this administration be able to do, and if you look at it, Trump said the other day, he don't know if he want to say the economy is good or bad, because as a matter of fact, our systems are moving at unprecedented successful marks. What we now see is that we were able to create a soft landing. So if we would have brought inflation down too soon, it would have destroyed and we would have ended up in a recession. So we had to do this in a way, and most people thought that a recession at least was definitely in the forecast. But what we've seen the financial economists under this administration do was to be able to bring us to a place of a soft landing, no recession. That takes a lot of ingenuity. What we would do by changing administrations is problematic when the current one has it under control. So when you think of the economy, please think of the economy correctly and not by mistake. We're going to take a quick commercial break to close out this conversation.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
Hello, I am Lisa Ingram, and I am running for Saginaw Township Clerk. I'm asking for your vote. I'm running on the platform of voter education, voter equality, and electoral integrity. Voting is the cornerstone of our democracy. Please remember me, Lisa Ingram, for Saginaw Township Clerk on November 5th.
Take it from Michelle Obama.
This election is going to be close. Michelle Obama is asking you, I'm telling y'all to do something.
This election is our moment to continue the fight of those who came before us. And we have the power to do it, but only if we do it together.
We did it before, y'all, and we sure can do it again. Let us work like our lives depend on it.
Paid for by NAACP.
We're always made to feel like one person can't make a difference. But everyone has a single person in our life that's made a difference. Maybe it was a parent, a neighbor, a teacher, a mentor. So when people say that your vote doesn't matter, you know that one person can and has made a difference. So why would you not use every opportunity to make a difference in someone else's life? That's what voting can do. It provides the power of a single voice, joining with millions of other single voices to make a difference. Because even that person who changed your life, they may have been just a single person to you, but they all had people who made a difference to them. They were never just a single person, but a collective of all the people who had made impacts in their lives. So this November, use your voice and vote to make a difference. Go to votehq.org to learn how to vote this election season. Paid for by American Independent Radio.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
All right, we're back with Straight Talk. There are a couple of comments that I want to get out there. Reggie Williams, at an early voting site, seeing the radical left and right has honestly been scary. It has been scary for me as well. What was different about this election is that in 2020, the top of the ticket ostracized and talked about and complained about people early voting, and so they did not vote. He has since seen after the behind whooping, he has changed his message, and now he is sharing we all need the early vote, get in early as soon as you can. Those numbers are staggering, but having good logical conversations with both Democratic and Republicans was refreshing. I absolutely am. And I want to say something about those individuals, 100% money influx causing inflation. Bill Ostash, you also had a great question that I want to talk about. When people tell me that they are voting for Donald Trump only because of his policies, that is hogwash. There are a lot of policies that benefit me better to vote a different direction than I do. But because as an individual, I am a part of a collective, we have to fight. I believe that we have to have a conscious mind, and we vote for not only what's good for our politics, but what's good for our country and our fellow man. And there is no political reason, because I just gave you numbers from the economy. We don't feel it at home. And that's been the part where Democrats have missed the mark, ignoring the pain, looking at the numbers. Saying that, hey, the economy is great, but people can't afford goods because of inflation. And I think that where they faltered in this, their communication has been their inability to feel the pain and share the pain and message a message and to send a message that I understand your pain and that prices are high and we're going to do what we can. And they've done a poor job of explaining why prices are high. The economy is good. The economy will be better. We have to make a decision to continue in the direction that we're going, and we'll be able to leverage. Now, Bill, I asked you, as you said, the economy is good. Prices suck. Are we being price gouged? Absolutely. If you go online and you buy things versus buying things in the store, you'll find that prices are a lot cheaper in many areas than what we're seeing in the store. We're seeing a lot of corporate gouging that is taking place, and it's unfortunate that as much as great as we are as a nation, that we are a capitalistic society, and for some people equate capitalism with taking advantage of everyone. And it's unfortunate, but I believe that we can have a capitalistic society where we can be called as conscious capitalism, where we all can win and that we can support our fellow man. So I want to thank each and everyone. Glad I could absentee vote and avoid all of that. I look forward to standing in line. I look forward, rain, sleet, or shine, of casting my ballot. I am so excited that many of you have taken the opportunity. If you have kids, loved one, families, please put the extra urge. We have yet, a couple of days left here that we can make a decision to vote. It is so important. When we see our institutions attacked, when we see even the right to vote and the ability to vote to be attacked, all of these things that you see taking place, the Republican Party, and I'm going to just say it, the Republican Party is doing a disservice by supporting number 45 because he is destroying our very institutions. I've never been so anti-Republican candidate as I am with Donald Trump, because in my belief, when you take away and you try to suppress the vote, you are suppressing what America is truly about. January 6th, be darned how quickly we forget. We've seen many of those politicians that were out there that said this was an atrocity. He has to stand and take responsibility, get absent-minded because they were afraid of the political machine and the head of the Republican Party, which is now Donald Trump. I said his name the only time. All right. So I want you all to continue to do the great work that you're doing. I believe that as we continue to press, let's work together. Thank you, my brother Jimmy. Those of you who are out there. And, I said this, we haven't heard much about Project 2025 as those who are on the left have jumped on Donald Trump for being an endorser of this. And he says he disavows it. But those of you who have read it, and I have read almost all of the pages, I'm at 900 some pages. I want you to know that his name is mentioned. His administration is mentioned. The people who wrote this and that are a part of the Heritage Foundation were people that were a part of his first administration and will probably be people who will come back for this next administration should he get in. And if you are going to be bamboozled and you're going to be hoodwinked and you're going to be tricked, then I say to you, I'm absolutely sorry. But Project 2025 is a part of what the Republican Party, I believe, will embrace and look to implement their first 100 days in office. It is now the close to the election season. I love each and every one of you all. Thank you for continually showing in. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. Get out and vote. Grace and peace.
You've been listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen by the host, its guest, or call-ins do not necessarily represent the opinion of this station.